on the Hill, we're here for one reason. We are here to fight, to protect immigration as it is. Or let me put it a little differently. We're here to call on President Biden and Majority Leader Chuck Schumer to reject the immigration and border proposals at the hands of Republicans in the ongoing negotiations around the supplemental aid package. Republicans continue to hold funding for America's allies hostage at the expense of migrants and to pass Trump-era border policies. Republicans are pitting vulnerable groups against each other to strong-arm policies that will exacerbate chaos at the southern border. We are urging the Biden administration to say no. Do not take the bait. We are calling on our colleagues to hold the line. To hold the line. Truthfully, the White House, and I've said this, should not have put border policy together with foreign aid, and that the two should be separated out. Now, I think that this is going to set a dangerous precedent, which is why we are standing here today. And this is exactly what Republicans want. They want to be able to get this now, and anytime we vote on something else, on foreign aid or whatever it is, they're going to ask for more and more and more. The CHC is concerned about the reports, the most recent reports that we're hearing now, of these Trump-era immigration policies possibly becoming permanent laws in exchange for one-time funding. And worse, these negotiations are taking place without a single Latino senator at the table, without a single CHC member at the table, and not even consultation or engagement with our Latino lawmakers. And that is completely unacceptable. As chair of the Hispanic Caucus, I urge the president to completely reject these ongoing conversations in which we are giving up. And we are saying that we're going to put basically an end to asylum. We cannot allow that to happen. And two, we need to continue to push to have our CHC senators at the table and in the room. And we call on the White House to also engage with the Hispanic Caucus and meet with us and work towards a solution that we can all come together and support. And the CHC will continue to sound the alarm bell on all the immigration policies that are being brought up in these funding negotiations that are going to be harmful. We know Republicans don't want to solve this problem. Some of what they're offering is only going to make things worse. And some of what they're offering doesn't even have anything to do with the southern border. And so we will hold the line. And with that, I'm going to have the honor of introducing the senator from New Jersey, who's been a champion for immigrants, a champion on this issue for a long time, and has been fighting in the Congress for a very long time to get comprehensive immigration reform. With that, Senator Menendez.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm thrilled to join my colleagues in the House and in the Senate, and not just the Hispanic Caucus, but the Asian Pacific Caucus, the Black Caucus, the Progressive Caucus. It is a wide concern that we have. When I read reports last night about the abhorrent immigration policy changes the Biden administration is considering, I thought I entered a time machine back to the Trump era. I could not comprehend how a Democratic president who vehemently countered Trump's policies as a candidate is seriously putting forward the most Trumpian, anti-immigrant proposal that President Trump himself could only have dreamed of accomplishing. These would be the most far-sweeping, anti-immigrant and permanent changes to our law in a generation. It would be a complete betrayal. The administration's proposals read like a bucket list of Stephen Miller's wildest fantasies. resurrecting a Title 42-like authority, which would shut out even the consideration for asylum, dramatically expanding migrant detention without adjudicating their cases, eroding due process en masse, expanding expedited removals to the interior of the country, raising the specter of roving deportation squads threatening dreamers, immigrant families, essential workers, and millions of others who have called America home for years, if not decades. Adding serious insult to injury, as the chairwoman said, not a single member, not one, of the House or Senate Congressional Hispanic Caucus is at the table for these talks. Not a single member of the CHC was given a heads up that the administration would be proposing or considering these right-wing non-starters, despite outreach from many of us over the last several weeks requesting to meet in person with the White House Chief of Staff. That is a hard slap in the face to all the Latino and immigrant communities we represent. Imagine the administration trying to cut a deal on voting rights or civil rights without bringing any members of the Congressional Black Caucus to the table. That would never be tolerated, and we absolutely cannot tolerate this either. The president is terribly mistaken if he thinks he can find support for these types of proposals among members of the CHC, the CBC, KPAC, and the CPC, as well as all those who care deeply about the well-being and future of our immigrant communities. What the president is putting forward, if it is as reported, I think is dead on arrival. It's a complete non-starter. We must not allow ourselves to be pressured into accepting these poison pills in the name of supporting our allies abroad. Let me just say that. I have sat on the Foreign Relations Committee, done foreign policy for 31 years. If the roles were reversed and Republicans were in the majority and we were doing such a thing, they would excoriate us for abandoning our allies and putting our national security at risk. And at the time of the call for freedom, to be absent. We cannot trade away fundamental protections for immigrants as a price to pass a supplemental aid package. Just as Republicans are willing to delay aid in the name of harming immigrants, we must be willing to do so in order to protect them. Holding the line here may be politically perilous, no doubt, but the time is now for us to meet the moment and speak out with moral clarity. We cannot stand idly by while an extreme Republican Party hell-bent on scapegoating and hurting immigrants tries to achieve their way. We cannot remain silent if leaders within our own party are selling out communities and then arrogantly turn to them on Election Day of next year, expecting them to vote for them. This is not a time to mince words. The Democratic Party must decide. Are we the party that welcomes immigrants and understands our long history as a nation of immigrants? Are we the party that will ultimately, however, fundamentally gut asylum and pave the way for Trumpian anti-immigrant policies that are being proposed? So here's my personal message. And by the way, this is not about not doing anything. The suggestion by some that we are for doing nothing at the border is absolutely wrong. In April of this year, I put out a plan that extensively went through the things that we can do to deal with the challenges of the border and to deal with the 20 million people displaced in the Southern Hemisphere who don't have a place to call home and are in other countries that we could work with. There's a lot we could do. But what is being suggested is not going to achieve the solution. I think it will exacerbate it, and it will dramatically change our course and our history as a country. So my message for the president, please don't go down this road. Don't cave in to the extreme Republican immigration proposals, because if you do so, you cement your legacy as the asylum denier in chief. That's not something we want to see. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Oh, and now let me introduce my colleague, who has been a tremendous ally, you know, when we are in that caucus room alone with other members and making our case. There is no one who has been a stronger voice alongside me than the senator from New Mexico, Senator Ben Ray Lujan.
Well, thank you all for coming today for this important conference. I want to thank Nanette Barragan, the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus,